Next on the agenda for the morning meeting, home sweet home for two American journalists held in North Korea. 140 days in that country, but was the risk they took unnecessary? And do all these digital channels and websites encourage journalists to take unnecessary risks in order to get noticed? We're back with Sam French out of Kabul in Afghanistan, a freelance video photojournalist who himself takes great risks on a regular basis to try to bring pictures and information to the world. Joining the conversation, Sam French out of Kabul. He's a freelance video photojournalist, independent filmmaker, co-founder of Development Pictures, also has done work for Current TV. Sam, where's the line? In other words, as somebody who delivers images and information from war zones and hostile nations, for you and for those who do what you do, how do you determine what is safe and appropriate, or at least a calculated risk, and what isn't?
Well, that's a very hard question, but the last thing I want to do is create an international incident or lose my life pursuing a story. But I do believe there are some stories that do need to be told. And as a freelancer, I think that because I'm not under the same security restrictions as major news organizations, I can pursue some stories that other people can't.
I'm curious, have you gone into the war zone? You're there in Kabul. I mean, you obviously are close to where missiles were landing just a few days ago. How close have you actually gotten to combat, and what restrictions are placed upon you by the military that is there?
Well, I spent most of my time in Kabul. It's a relatively safe city. Of course, the other night there were some missile attacks, and I was woken up by gunfire. But that is a very not normal occurrence. The problem is when you go into the provinces. And recently I pursued a story down in Nangarhar at the border by the Khyber Pass. And this is about children who are used as smugglers across the border. And I did this as a freelancer, and if I was working with a news organization, I wouldn't have been able to go.
Safety. Why not?
Well, it's a dangerous area. I mean, there's a border outpost down there that is regularly attacked by the Taliban. They get no support. And the only way we could go was because I decided to spend some time in Jalalabad and actually meet the governor of the province. And I had dinner with him, and under Pashtunwali, which is the hospitality code here in Afghanistan, he very, very nicely gave me 12 border security as an escort to go down there. But I don't have my own security, so I have to do things like that in order to get my story.
Jonathan?
Sam, that leads to my question, which is, when Ms. Lee and Ms. Ling were arrested, they had Vice President Al Gore and his company to call. Since you're an independent filmmaker and on your own, if something happens to you, if you're kidnapped or jailed, or God forbid, worse, who do you call, or who has your interests at heart?
That's a very good question. I think about that quite a lot, actually. I mean, I have many friends here. That's the thing. There's a very good community of journalists here who I'm all friends with. I know people at the U.S. Embassy. I know people at the British Embassy. I do believe that if I was taken or, God forbid, kidnapped, then people would be looking after me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. I do not have a formal, backup.
Mark, real quick, I know we've got to wrap this up, but this is very interesting. Go ahead, Mark.
Don't you think that, a freelance journalist who goes off to a place like North Korea or even Afghanistan is by nature kind of an adrenaline junkie, and it's very hard to make a living as a freelance journalist, so you'll wind up in these bad situations. I mean, don't you think these sort of things are inevitable because of how difficult it is to make it, and because by nature a lot of freelance journalists are working in places like where you are adrenaline junkies?
Sam, did you catch that? I think we lost. Oh, wow. Yeah, we had dropped out. But I think your question makes the point, which is that this is attracting people who are attracted to this lifestyle. It's inherently a risky lifestyle.
He said something very interesting. He does not want to cause an international incident. Of course, one presumes that is the case of all journalists. But if a journalist goes in, gets taken hostage, we are then pulled in, is there an expectation on the journalist's part that we will respond? Should we respond? Do we then get pulled in?
How do you answer? What's your answer?
I have to think about it very carefully, because we are then brought in responding diplomatically in a situation where he may have been told or they may have been told you shouldn't be there. It's a very dicey proposition.
Jonathan.
I want to take issue with the adrenaline junkie characterization, because it makes it sound like journalists who are covering stories in war zones and trying to get the news out are just doing it for kicks. These are people who are putting their safety and their lives on the line to tell stories that might not otherwise get out. So do they find a thrill in going out and getting a great story and breaking some news and shedding some light on something that otherwise wouldn't be reported? Certainly, but getting that story is the primary mission of those people who are out there. I don't think adrenaline junkie is fair.
Yeah. Is it possible that both are true sometimes, Jonathan?
Sure, and I just said that, but I don't think the primary motivation is just to go someplace dangerous for an adrenaline kick.
Clearly, and a well-made point, and a thank you all for the conversation. And to Sam, be safe, and we'll go. If he gets in trouble, we'll do what we can from the morning meeting as well. Anyway, still to come here in the next half hour.